There are reports Israeli officials obtained Hamas's battle plan for the October 7 terrorist attack more than a year before it happened. The New York Times claims it has obtained a 40-page document, which the Israeli authorities codenamed Jericho Wall, which outlined point by point exactly the kind of devastating invasion that led to the deaths of about 1,200 people. Joining me now live is IDF spokesperson Doron Spillman. Doron, appreciate your time this afternoon. Can you confirm these reports that Israel knew about these attacks a year before it happened?
Thank you for having me today. This is still very early hours, and we do not yet have confirmation. This is, of course, news that we've seen in the popular media. And as we've said from the very beginning, we're in an ongoing conflict right now with Hamas. There's no question that on October 7th, when Hamas did launch that deadly attack, the IDF and the Israel Defense Forces were not fully prepared. Otherwise, obviously, we would have repelled them. However, this is going to be an ongoing investigation that will take place when this war is over. In the meantime, what I can tell you is that just moments ago, Hamas did fire a rocket from the Gaza Strip towards Israeli communities. This is, of course, contravention to the framework that we've had with them, and we did intercept that rocket.
Okay, I want to ask you about that rocket because that's new and that's breaking news. But just finally on this report, though, if it is found to be true that Israel did know about this 12 months ago, what does it say about the system? And does it mean that Israel could have been better prepared and could have prevented an attack of this scale?
Look, I will tell you, Israel could have been better prepared. This is an agreement amongst everybody, not only in the IDF, but in Israel as a whole. We have to remember Israel is a very small country, meaning the people that are serving the army right now are people from the population. We're a really just one small family. We all know people who've been attacked. We all know people who were murdered and were taken captive. And therefore, the feeling throughout the entire country is not one that's going to gloss over this. Responsibility is being taken, and there's no question that our guard was down, and the steps to really come face to face with that and repair that is agreed upon. What those steps will be and exactly what went wrong is going to take months and months to actually figure out. I respect that there was a report in the New York Times, but we're going to do a very thorough report, one that can be used to improve ourselves for the future.
Are you worried that there are leaks within the Israeli military? Because according to the New York Times, Hamas knew very sensitive information about the location of military establishments within Israel. Have you got confidence in the personnel right now?
We do have confidence. I mean, we're waging right now a war against Hamas. And if you look at the IDF, we're allied with the largest civilian call up into the military ever in Israeli history. We have an enormously large standing army, and we're also being incredibly effective right now on the battlefield with our operational plans. If that is an element of what went wrong on October 7th, this is, of course, something that we're going to address. There have been reports that there were workers. Many of these communities welcomed in people from Gaza to work in those communities. They had worked, in fact, to gain working permits. 20,000 Gazan people were working in Israel, and some of those workers did provide information about the whereabouts, about where people were living in these different communities. And of course, that is something that's very sad because the permits were given to them as a means of developing types of peaceful relations with the people of Gaza. But Hamas is not against using anything, including people that are working independently and trying to use that for their own purposes. So this will be discovered, but it's going to take time to really develop that and understand what happened there.
All right, I want to move on to the point that you just made before. You're close to that truce between Israel and Hamas expiring. Now, you've just told us that Hamas has fired a rocket. Can you explain this further? What more do you know?
Look, what we know is that our radar and our missile defense capabilities were alerted that a rocket had been fired from the Gaza Strip towards Israeli communities. Again, every one of these rockets has a warhead on it. Every one of these rockets can explode and kill civilians. And we intercepted it with our Iron Dome system. This, of course, is a break with a framework which is saying that in return for the IDF holding off our operational goals and being in a defensive position, that Hamas will not threaten or target the Israeli people. This, is not so surprising because in the past we've got years of experience of a Hamas trying to attack the Israeli people. Hamas has in numerous times broken their agreements. They're not a trustful organization, and this is just one more example. And thank God we intercepted that rocket before it could do any serious damage to the Israeli people.
So what does this mean then by way of negotiations to try and extend the truce deal? Has that set the truce deal back? Will you be looking to extend it this afternoon?
Look, I assume that the government, this is a political decision and negotiations with regards to the truce deal. It was obviously entered because we are one of our top two priorities is to bring home our hostages. These people have been sitting in Gaza now for 56 days inside deep, dark, wet tunnels. Many of their families were killed. And we know from the conditions of those who've left that they're in really just abominable conditions, some of them without important medical care. And that's why we froze our operations to bring those people home. A condition was obviously that if we're going to be in a defensive position, that Hamas is not going to be targeting the Israeli people. This is a clear violation. And so therefore, right now we've intercepted that rocket. The IDF will be preparing what to do and will be taking guidance from the political echelon. If they give the green light that we should continue our operations in Gaza, we are fully prepared and actually assuming that we will do so, because only when Hamas feels that their back is to the wall, that is the only time they've actually released these hostages. They're not doing it out of goodwill. And so we will see how that unfolds in the coming hours.
Okay, well, we'll await that update. Just before we let you go, have you at all got an update on the status of the Bibas family? Of course, the youngest Israeli hostage, 10-month-old Kafir, his brother Ariel, and their mother Shiri. Have you been able to confirm reports at all that they have indeed been killed?
We've been working on those reports. They're not yet confirmed. We're in touch with the Bibas family. Obviously, everyone, the family, and the people of Israel who by this time really feel like these Bibas children, the sweet little 10-year-old and his 4-year-old brother, that they are our children. I mean, every family feels that these are our children. And Hamas's reports that they were killed is gutting. But we know that in the past, there have been reports people had been killed and they turned out to be alive. And so we have to really attain a credible intelligence that this is true. And we have not yet achieved that.
Okay, we will stand by for that update as well. IDF spokesperson Doron Spillman, thank you for your time this afternoon.